Hi, it's Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au, bringing you my regular weekly feature, Hotspot of the Week, this time every week. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about the Belconnen District in Canberra in the ACT. Firstly, a little bit about the Canberra market. Right now, one of the strongest markets in capital city Australia, measured by a number of different ways. Firstly, in terms of vacancies, only Hobart amongst the capital cities has lower vacancies and only marginally lower than Canberra. Canberra's vacancy rate has been below 1% for quite some time. Partly as a consequence of that, or even primarily as a consequence of that, Canberra has been having higher growth in rentals than any other capital city in Australia. So very low vacancies, strong rental growth, and often we've seen in observing markets around Australia that where we have a market where vacancies are low and rents have grown a lot, prices often tend to follow. And there is some evidence that we're seeing that the prices are on the cusp of a growth phase. Certainly some commentators are predicting that Canberra will lead Australia on price growth in the next couple of years. I'm not sure whether that's going to be true or not, but I do note an uplift in sales activity in Canberra. Our quarterly surveys of sales activity, the last 3 surveys, including the current one that we've just started analysing, the latest quarterly figures, there's been another uplift again in the number of suburbs in the Canberra market with rising sales activity. And certainly the top end of the Canberra market, the suburbs with median prices above $1 million, have in the last 12 months, many of them had price growth in the median prices above 10%. So within the Canberra market, which is looking solid to strong and showing signs of improvement and greater growth, the Belconnen District up in the north is the leading market within Canberra. It's got more suburbs with rising activity than any other precinct in Canberra. So it stands out for us, and it's one of the reasons why we've included it in the current edition of our National Top 10 Best Buys report. Leading precinct for sales growth, low vacancies, even lower than the Canberra average up there in the Belconnen District, and benefiting from the light rail project, which has been under construction for a while, and some major developments coming up in that part of Canberra. So the Belconnen District, approximately 10 kilometres northwest from the Canberra CBD, suburbs including Belconnen itself, Bruce, Cook, Dunlop, Florey, Flynn, Hawker, Higgins, Holt, McGregor, Page, Scullin, and many others. Those are some of the suburbs that are part of what's known as the Belconnen precinct. It's got a number of major infrastructure features that make it the sort of place that people might want to live near. There's government departments, University of Canberra, Calvary Hospital, Australian Institute of Sport, Canberra Stadium, a recently redeveloped Westfield Shopping Centre, and a lot more. So plenty of infrastructure up there. It's got a very, very solid property market. I mentioned at the beginning that one of the characterising features of the Canberra market at the moment is how low the vacancies are. Well, they're even lower than the Canberra average in the postcodes of the Belconnen precinct. All the postcodes up there have vacancies of around 0.5, 0.6%, so well under 1%. So very tight rental markets, which are tending to keep rents high, and as a consequence, partly as a consequence of that, values remaining high. We've seen an uplift in sales activity in recent quarters in Canberra generally, but particularly in this Belconnen precinct. It's the leading market sector as far as we're concerned within the city of Canberra. An example of that is the suburb of Bruce, where in the last half dozen quarters, where we chart the number of sales in every town and suburb in Australia to see the ones that have got a pattern of rising demand likely to lead to price growth. Bruce, one of the suburbs of the Belconnen District, is a case in point. The last several quarters, sales have been 39, 41, 45, 48, 54, 61, 65. So a very steady and consistent rise in the number of sales in that suburb. And as a consequence, the median unit price in that suburb has risen 11% in the last 12 months. Good rental returns in that particular market as well, median rental return of 5.5%. Just looking at the sort of pricing you'll find in some of these suburbs, many of the suburbs in this precinct have median prices in the high 400s or somewhere in the 500,000s, and then others are in above 600,000 median. So by Canberra standards, reasonably affordable. Suburbs like Dunlop, Evatt and Holt have median prices in the low to mid 500,000s. McGregor's actually 490,000 median. Also, major unit markets in suburbs like Belconnen and Bruce, where there's Belconnen almost 200 unit sales in the last 12 months at a median price of 390,000. In the suburb of Bruce, 140 sales in the last 12 months, with the median price rising 11%. Pretty good rental returns in this market as well. In terms of housing, many of the suburbs have median rental yields around somewhere between 4.5% and 5%. And the unit markets, the suburbs that have got substantial number of sales of units, the median yields are somewhere between 5% and 5.5%. So the sorts of median yields that are well above those that you can get in the bigger cities like Sydney and Melbourne. We're starting to see some pretty good price growth in this market. The median prices for suburbs like Florey and Kaleen are up 13-14% in the last 12 months, and others like Dunlop and Holt have risen 9 or 10%. So on the back of the rising demand, the rising sales activity that I mentioned earlier that we've been charting with our quarterly surveys, we're now starting to see some pretty solid price growth in these particular suburbs. So looking to the future, there's plenty going on that's going to help keep this market strong. The light rail project that's been under construction, expected to be completed sometime next year, $800 million project connecting the Canberra CBD to the northern areas of Canberra. That's well underway. A number of big projects primarily to create dwellings. University of Canberra residential development in Bruce, over 15 years, a $1.7 billion project. The Lake Ginninderra mixed-use project with dwellings and a hotel and office space as well, $700 million project. The Lawson residential estate to create over 2,000 dwellings over time. That's a $1 billion project. So some big things coming up in that part of Canberra. So major development, creating jobs and activity, the sorts of things that we look for when we're looking to what sort of future a market might have. So the Belconnen District of Canberra. Canberra itself, always a solid market, always solid at the very least, but looking increasing like it's going to be more than solid as Sydney and Melbourne wind down. Markets like Canberra appear to be cranking up on the back of low vacancies, rising rentals, and some uplift in pricing at the top end of the market, as I mentioned earlier, and certainly rising sales activity. And within the Canberra market, as we see it, the Belconnen District is probably the #1 precinct. There are others that have growth markets coming through, but this is the one that's got the greatest cluster of suburbs with rising activity and potential for price growth, some of which have already had in the last 12 months price growth, 9, 10, 12 or more %. So a market to consider. Canberra, always solid, good rental yields, pretty safe sort of place to invest, underpinned by being the capital city and a whole heap of other things. The ACT economy is consistently the #3 economy in Australia after New South Wales and Victoria, so it's underpinned by that as well. If you want to find out more about the Belconnen District, you can go to the hotspotting.com.au website and check out the location reports page. You'll find a report on Belconnen District there, and also reports on particular markets that we recommend right around Australia at a very affordable price. Those reports are packed full of facts and figures and good analysis explaining why we rate markets such as the Belconnen District in Canberra. So that's it for now. Terry Ryder from hotspotting.com.au signing off. We'll talk to you again soon.